what you put out is what you're going to get back in. So if you're looking at your life and it's looking a little funky, it's probably you being a little funky.
Hi, this is Tammy Ramsay, and on this episode of Get Leveled, I'm very happy to introduce you to an incredibly special birth mother named Kiami Merritt. Her brave choice for love left an imprint on my heart that I will never forget. I was connected to her through my old job as an adoption caseworker, and over the almost decade that I worked there, and I was involved with close to 1,000 adoptions, this one stands out as one that I will never ever forget. Even if you're not interested in the topic of adoption, I believe that you will walk away from this episode feeling motivated and inspired to want to be better and do better, because Kiami has taken the life lessons from this hard experience and she's used it to not only create the life of her dreams, but she helps other people and mentors them to help them create the life of their dreams too. So let's hear from Kiami. Hi, Kiami.
Hi, Tammy.
How are you?
I am doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. You made the courageous decision to place your baby for adoption, and I was lucky enough to be able to walk alongside you through that journey. And it had so many more twists and turns than I ever expected. But what I'm grateful for is that during all those rocky moments, it really showed me how much strength and maturity is inside of you. So can we start with you telling us what led you to even start looking into adoption in the first place?
This is one of the most important points of the whole entire adoption. At the time, I had 3 other children. We're not talking about me being selfish and just placing a baby for adoption just because I'm lazy. We're talking about I was 21 years old. I had 3 children. How in the heck did someone expect for me to financially take care of a 4th child, physically or mentally be able to do so? And he wasn't able to financially do it either. So together, we were not financially able. That's the first thing, because we can all say that finances don't matter, but finances do matter, because who is going to provide the basic necessities for the child? And so it was literally in the best interest. And yes, we are at different places in our life right now, but right now does not matter at that time. If you can't make it then, how does now matter? You're not going to get to now. You have to survive. You have to have the basic necessities. You need a roof over your head. You need food. You need health care. All of those things you need. But I was just graduating, had $30,000 on my name, thanks to my new education. So I was not able to. I could not stretch myself mentally that far. I just did not have the tools. I mean, I'm sorry to say I didn't have the tools, and together we didn't have the tools.
So did you face any judgment from people, like from family or friends or your community, for even considering adoption?
Yes and no. More than half of the people in my life don't know about my son and don't know that I placed him for adoption. And, the other half, they didn't understand it. And it's like, well, some people are like, well, how could you do that? And that's when you sit down and have that conversation. And I actually like when people say, how could you do that? Because I feel like after a conversation, either you can understand and get more information about it and see that it's actually about love, or you can still make that determination, but it will take that conversation. So, like my parents, they didn't understand, but they were like, well, we're just gonna, support the decision, because that's something that, you made that decision. So we can't really tell you what to do, and we're gonna just see how it works out. We're gonna meet the adoptive mom, and we're just gonna see. And I do want to mention too, another thing that was very hard is my father is actually a part of like the fatherhood initiation. And so he goes out and he actually talks to different young men and help them to establish relationships with their children. And so that was hard too, because my father stands for fatherhood. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about period, point blank. I stand for motherhood, but I stand for parenthood. Mm-hmm. Parenthood includes being a mother and a father. And I had to really look at both instances.
So what I was so impressed by you throughout this whole process was I saw how much you loved your son. But from the moment I got your paperwork, like everything was written so beautifully, like the words that you wrote down for what you wanted for him out of life. And you put so much thought and attention and love. And you took such good care of yourself the whole time. It just shows that this isn't a rejection. This was something that took a lot of thought and sacrifice. And I remember you lived in Milwaukee at the time, and you would take all these different buses to go to the doctor in the snow with your kids. It was
Yep.
such a huge burden, and you
Yeah.
did it anyway because you love him so much. And every decision you made was really based in love. And I was so impressed with the fact that you were getting your college degree in the middle of all of this. You had 3
Yep.
children, you were pregnant, going through such an emotional process. An adoption is a very difficult thing to do. And meanwhile, in the background, you're getting your college degree. And so I just remember you inspired me to tap into things inside myself. Like I knew that we all had a lot more in us that we could tap into by watching your strength throughout this process. So I knew I was lucky enough to be able to be paired with you, and I knew I would enjoy you, but I didn't have any idea how this adoption would take so many painful twists and turns. So let's talk a little bit about the process of adoption. I received your paperwork, and you listed in there all your hopes and dreams for your baby and all the things you wanted for him out of life. And then you got to look at like profiles of different families, and you ended up selecting a single adoptive mom. That was really an exciting time because I got to connect you to and introduce you to over the phone, where you got to exchange info and get to know each other. So can you tell us a little bit about that? How did it feel to finally identify who you wanted to place your child with, and then connecting with her and getting to know her? What was that like for you?
I took it very serious. So I was like, okay, let me really get to know her heart and get to know her spirit. And we developed like a sisterhood. So the universe lined us up exactly where we needed to be. Her parents were from Milwaukee, but yet they've been living in Arizona for so many years. And I was like, wow, that is so crazy. And so when she came, it was so nice. And we really got a chance to talk, and she just fell in love with my children. They fell in love with her. And, like we just would talk all the time and could be very open with each other. And it was amazing.
I
It,
remember that there were so many things that were like in alignment with you two.
yeah, it was like we would find so many different things, like coincidences. Like I remember one time I was at Wendy's, and on my cup it said something about adoption, and I would take a picture of it. And then like one time one of us was in traffic, and we seen a license plate that said something about adoption, and we would draw from those things. Like we would take those little things, and basically they would be like small victories and things that kept us going with the process, to just believe in the process.
So did you have doubts about your decision?
Um, Honestly, no one, is going to be you. But also, I feel like she is the most closest person to me that could ever be. I really do feel that way. Like, I literally feel like she is just absolutely, completely amazing. But I had to really, basically, you have to remove your ego. If not, you might as well keep your baby. If you decide on the process and that's what you want to do, then do it. Now, if you don't want to do it, that's your choice too, because at the end of the day, the choice is yours. So it's not something that's forced upon. It's something that you decide. But every day you have to really equip yourself, whether that's through prayers or whether that's through listening to something motivational, whichever way that people equip themselves. That's what I had to do every single day. I had to tell myself, you're going to be stronger today. You have to really sink into the fact that you made this decision, and you got to walk it out. Think about the very first time you said, this is what I'm going to do. And if every day you still have those same, 1, 2, 3, or 4 things of why you're going to do it, then keep pushing past that and keep remembering and reminding yourself every day, this is what you're going to do. This is why you're going to do it.
So you kept focused on your intention in the beginning of why you were doing this for your baby.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I thought she could do an amazing job. And at the time, I didn't have the tools to give it to yet a fourth child. So, I was not ready. I wasn't financially ready. I just wasn't able to just even stretch myself that far. And I just kept thinking, like, I know that I'm going to place him somewhere where not only is he going to get all the love and attention that he deserves, but he's going to have opportunities. Like, I kept thinking about college and, just him going to college and getting that support. And I just felt like he was going to have a village behind him. And the reason why I chose a white mom is because my son is biracial. So his father is biracial as well. He has a white mom and a black dad. And so I just felt like he kind of needed the best of both worlds. It's very important for him to know that he is black and what that means. But it's also just as important for him to know who he is as biracial as white. Because you are who you are. You're not more one of the other. You are who you are. I felt like also it wouldn't be as uncomfortable for the mom because, he is white too. So, you know what I'm saying?
So I think that is important to point out that you really felt, again, that you were looking out for the best interest of your baby. And I can't even tell you enough how much I've learned from you. You really opened my mind and you helped me see the world from just different perspectives. So I'm really grateful that you came into my life.
I really appreciate that. I really do. Like, I am so humble and just so thankful for you. You have been a very, very important and impactful person in my life. And I like to speak about all different things. I'm not a only Black Lives Matter type of person. I am Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, single moms matter, women matter. I'm so for moms. Like, I was a single mom. And a lot of times we have stigmas on, if they're a single parent, they can't do this, or that. But if you actually look at some of the most powerful people in the world, they were actually raised by single parents. And I felt like I didn't want a single parent to be discriminated upon. It's not a white or black thing, but it's about discrimination between one single person and a couple. But more so, over anything, I'm for impacting the world. I want to help every single person I can to just be better, help motivate each other, put out that love. That's just kind of what I'm for. But those are things that don't just define me. I'm not in a box. You can't put me in a box. I am everything. For me to just sit here and say that being Black isn't an issue, that would be a huge contradiction because it is definitely real. However, we are also in control of ourselves. So we have to go out with our head held high, no matter really what color you are. Every single day, everybody in the world is faced with so many things. And if you just continue to keep your head up every single time you leave out that door, remember who you are, remember what's important, remember who you stand for, know who loves you, have your circle of influence and have that in the back of your head. And just know that no matter what, it's all good.
You're so right. All of those things like divide us, those other things. But when you realize like we all affect each other and we're all the same deep down when we shed the layers. So when the adoption started becoming more complicated legally, I started really seeing your strength. And that's when you went from the girl that I just loved talking to somebody I really admired and looked up to because I saw your strength in action and it was all rooted in love. It wasn't about fighting. It wasn't about hurting anyone. You just truly were determined to make sure that you could follow through with this decision. And so during the pregnancy, I remember the birth father not being involved in the adoption at all. But then after the baby was born, he actually filed paperwork with the courts, and this turned into a contested adoption, and there was even a jury trial. So the baby was with the adoptive mom, and the two of you had to actually come together. So tell us what that was like.
Well, for one, To some extent, it was heartbreaking because in my head at the time, I had chosen what I felt was best for the baby because we weren't in communication during the entire pregnancy. So that was it was hard. It really was. And once he decided to contest the adoption, not only does he have that right because he's the father, but I just wanted to, I guess, him to understand what exactly we were doing. Because naturally, of course, you want to take care of your child because it's your kid, you have that connection no matter what. However, we had to step outside of that. And I wanted to, get on that same accord and really take a step back to see what were we able to do. We weren't financially ready. We weren't emotionally ready, and mentally we weren't ready. We are not able to stretch ourselves any farther than what we are already able to do, because at the end of the day, because we were not together and we were not married, it really would have fell upon me. And
Mm-hmm.
so we can say yes, he would have gotten them or him at this time or at this time. That is not guaranteed to happen. So I would have to fully be responsible for something that is not done. And if it is done, I still have to fully be responsible on my end, because the child naturally would live with the mother.
Well, and what about for people who say, well, why didn't you just let him raise the baby?
He did get an opportunity. We were in court for about 10 or 11 months. So during the process of that, the judge actually kept putting the date back so that he could have opportunity to not only reach out, but assume parental rights and a relationship. So that was one of the reasons why it took us almost a year in court, because the judge wanted to give him an opportunity to build that relationship and build that bond. During that time, he didn't do any of the things that the judge asked him to do or
Mm-hmm.
try to go see the child. So in the end, that's what really made the adoption complete.
That's a good point. Although this contested part of the adoption became an enormous financial burden on the adoptive mom, because she had to pay the legal fees for this, which were astronomical. However, no one took away his baby. Like, he had the chance. And I think, having the legal process play out and him, his rights being honored is an important part emotionally of this, just to know, he was given the chance. And I think that's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, because during the time, he most definitely had enough time. And they, like I said, they gave him options. And also the adoptive mom, they did order her to basically be open to talking to him and realizing that she would have to contact if he contacted her, and she would have to send pictures if that's what he wanted, all of those things.
I remember that time being so difficult, because it's like, here, this person who created this legal burden and financial hardship on the adoptive mother. And then, he got his public defender paid for free. So he got to start and instigate this entire legal battle, never having to pay a penny. And she had to pay for her legal services on top of an adoption that she just paid for. So I just remember the fear, as a teacher, single mother, and yet she did everything she could to protect the best interest of your baby. And so that included being open to talking to the birth father. So she was available. Maybe deep down, he knew that this was in his best interest. You never know.
It's really a hard process. This is not something that is taken lightly. And I also don't want it to seem as if he wasn't important and he didn't matter. He absolutely matters. He matters to who the baby becomes, because he is a part of him. Also, just going forward, I hope that we can someday talk about it and come to an agreement, and hopefully he can understand why it was made, because I can say all day, this is why I did it, this is why I did it, but hopefully he can understand,
Yeah.
that it was
And
the
have
best interest
peace.
at the time. Yes, and that it was the best interest at the time. I just want to keep saying it never, ever, ever was about taking a child away from him. I would never want to do that.
How did you find the strength to get up on the stand and communicate with such authenticity and bravery? Because I remember the attorney contacting me and saying that I had to be on standby to be a witness. And I just remember being so nervous. It was such a stressful time. And that was just going to be over the phone. And meanwhile, you had to get up on the stand in front of all of those people and rehash intimate details about how you met and were together and in front of everybody. And then to not know if you're going to have to be prepared to parent. And then on the other hand, the adoptive mom was like, do I buy more formula? Like, it was so, for that time period, it was so unstable.
I find that just no matter how embarrassing it is, you should just always just tell the truth. You really should. It just tell the truth, because at the end of the day, it's only going to work out when you tell the truth. Now, that working out might not be what you want it to be. Like, I'm not saying you're going to get the answer you want to get, but you're going to get the result you need to get. The pain of what I had to go through, and also the pain of seeing the father fall apart. That it's very, very painful, because to me it was not about us. It was about the baby.
And I think the jury felt that from you, that you were telling the truth. And I think they saw the overall circumstances, and that the two of you and the adoptive mom, really seemed to be focused only on his best interest.
Yeah.
And so you were getting your college degree literally during this time of pregnancy, and your graduation was scheduled for the day literally a few hours after the verdict came in. Tell us a little bit about how that day was.
I just woke up like, today is supposed to be my graduation, so my life is going to change in so many other ways. Today is my graduation, and today is the last court date. So I just did not know. I did not know. It was a very important day, because I was like, if it does turn out to be good, I can cross the stage and just feel no worries. And all that I had been fighting for during the entire time of going to school and the pregnancy, it would be over. I just was glad for it to be over. At that point, I was so stressed out.
But then you didn't know when you woke up that morning if you would be bringing home a baby, or if you would be starting your new life with this college degree and ready
Pretty
to start
much.
your career.
Pretty much. But at that point, it was nothing that I could do. It was absolutely out of my hands. It was in God's hands. And we had so many different things that could have stopped us, and it didn't. So I was like, okay, I know it's going to work. I just felt like it would work.
How did it work the day actually in court? So you went in, and then did they just call you all into the courtroom and the judge give the verdict? Or
It was so emotional. Once the verdict was in, literally the judge said, now you can go cross that stage and go graduate. I am very proud of you.
oh,
And he was like, you have been fighting, you have stayed strong. He was like, go ahead, cross that stage and go graduate.
yes, I felt like it
And
was a movie.
it
Literally.
literally felt like a movie, because I was late to my graduation. I was literally about to like walk down when I was trying to get my shoe on, and it was hilarious. And so that's how I knew it was God, because it was just the right timing. And that morning, I didn't know if I was going to, I guess, win in court or not, but it was my graduation day. So yeah, I was on edge.
And what about with your baby that you placed for adoption? What do you hope that he feels about this adoption, or feels about you?
Well, for one, I always want him to know that we are always, all of us, my children, my parents, and most definitely my friends. I can really, really say, especially my friends, but all of us, all of us. I always look at it as, his adoptive mom, that's his mom. So that's not his adoptive mom to him. That's, it's his mom. That's who raised him. That's that. So I'm not taking that place at all. But I want him to know that he can always come to us and I want him to know that even if he doesn't, that, that's okay. But he is always, always supported. We're always thinking about him. We're always praying for him. And I'm going to say it until the end of time. He is completely always welcomed with loving arms. And if he ever wanted to come visit, if he ever wanted to talk to me and vent to me about how he didn't like my choice or how he did like my choice, he can talk to me about whatever and feel comfortable and know he will never be judged and he will never be turned down for how he feels, because how he feels matters. It's important. My children love their brother. Like, he is just always welcome anytime. If he, wants to visit when he comes a teenager, it doesn't matter when. That conversation is open. Our home is open. Our hearts are open to questions, to love, to hanging out, everything. I just want his life to be everything that I've ever imagined. And it's to be just loved. And I want his life to be filled with amazing opportunities and miracles and growth. And I just want him to show up in the world and be just a beautiful being. And I don't want him to measure himself by society and what it says your success looks like. To me, your success is your heart. The bigger the heart you have, the more you are loving in the world and using yourself in the world, and even not having like a hardened heart or attitude even towards homeless people, because they deserve just as much love and respect as anybody. Don't ever think you're too good for a situation, and always be a lifelong learner.
And what's so nice to see is that now that it's been a few years, we've gotten to watch this play out and watch this little guy grow and develop into, not surprisingly, such a special little character. And he has so much love
Yeah.
His adoptive mom is so patient and loving and sweet, and he's surrounded by very active grandparents. And so he has such a strong community, and it's beautiful to see how much love he's getting. And it's just, I think when you do it for the right reasons, like you did, it's inevitably going to just be a good, positive, beautiful experience, because you weren't doing it for any other reason other than wanting what was best for him. And so when things are rooted in love, they tend to work out nicely.
Yeah. And I'm just so thankful to the adoptive mom. She is such a beautiful person. And I'm just so, so glad that she is still being who she said she would be. And she's still loving him and caring about him. Like, she is so in love with him that it is
I know.
hilarious. And it's like,
It really
that's
is.
why I was like, girl, nobody can love him like us. Like, you love him just as much as I love him. And I'm just so glad for that. And his grandparents, oh my goodness, they just eat him up. Like, just
I know.
all of it is
It's
so,
so
it
sweet.
is. And I just love to get the pictures. And I'm just so thankful that she is treating him so well, like I knew she would. I never had a doubt. And she is being exactly who she said she would be. And I'm very, very thankful for that.
Yes. And just like I got to see your strength shine through, I saw the same in her. We should all take a moment to imagine what it would feel like to already have your baby and then have the thought of having to give him back.
Yep.
And just the stress of that, and the financial stress and the legal process. And so I saw her love and her courage and strength, and then the two of you coming together again, never against somebody, but in alignment for the baby's best interest.
Yep.
And it was just an experience that I carry so close to my heart. You all feel like extended family out there. It's really one of the most beautiful adoptions I've ever gotten to witness. And I love watching you all evolve, and it's just such a rewarding thing to be a part of.
It really feels good. It really does. Like, when I look back, I've just came such a long way. And when we're in something, it feels like forever. But when you're done, it's like you can be proud. It's almost like a life resume. Not a work resume, but a life resume of experiences that you can look back on, and you can, we're always constantly doing things that, are not perfect. So we get a chance to look back and fix those things. And then the things that we did well, we can still bring those things with us. And I can use those things to teach my children, because I have been through absolutely more than you can imagine. And so I'm glad, because I have more to talk to my children about. They don't have to be alone.
And you show us all that there is life after hardship. For some people, they may think they can never overcome grief. You had to grieve your child. And for some women, they can stay stuck in that. And so, how do you choose to live in the moment and let go of the sad feelings and be able to really focus on creating your best life?
I don't have a lot of hard days. I really don't. When I think about my child, I just feel like he is where he needs to be. I don't know. I don't have worries for him. He is in the most amazing place that he could ever be, with the person who loves him the exact same way. If I didn't feel those things about her, I probably wouldn't feel at peace. Now, I'm not just saying I did the right thing just in general. No, I did the right thing choosing her. So, with that, I will have eternal peace.
Oh, that's so much a part of it. You're right. Because when I see the pictures and how he's doing, I think we all want his life. He
Yeah,
has so much
I'm jealous. I'm
love.
like, can you adopt me, please?
I know. And it's not about like money and stuff. It's about
No, it's about the
love
love.
and connection and presence and
Yeah.
opportunity. They're just so in love with him. And it's
Sometimes I
just
think it's
so
her
cute.
baby. Like, I think that, like, she had him. No, I'm like serious.
I know. I know. They're just so meant to be together.
They are. They have a real mother-son bond and connection.
It is very sweet to see.
Yes.
Even though this comes with hardship, great things are not always easy. It's a beautiful adoption. And not to say that there wasn't grief and isn't grief, but I think that to look at it, you see the beautiful love that is at the root of it all.
I remember, I don't know if it was Maya Angelou, but it was someone. They said, you never know. You have absolutely no idea what your legacy is.
Yes,
And
she said that to Oprah.
yeah, I was about to say, she said it to Oprah, because that's all I watch is inspiration and motivation and everything.
I know.
Philosophy and all of that, because I'm into life. But it's very, very true. And I'm hoping that this story is the opening to me just being able connect with everyone. I just want to connect with people, and I just want to love people and support people, and I just want us all to just help each other to grow and share experiences, because I'm pretty sure there's going to be so many more experiences I have to go through until I die. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to need to tap into someone, and they're going to need to help me through something too. And yeah, I hope this is the opening to that. I feel like this was all that it was going to take, was me just being able to finally tell the world, because like I said, more than half of the people in my life don't even know this story.
How are you feeling about that? They may hear this. And are you ready to face more questions?
Oh, I'm completely ready. I don't feel absolutely any kind of way. I am completely open and ready. In the past, I cared about what people thought, but honestly, ever since I was homeless, that experience was so humble. And for me to tell the world that I was homeless, if I could do that, I can do anything, because that experience was the most life-changing thing that has ever happened to me.
What was the biggest thing you learned from that?
Don't judge. Homeless does not have a look, because my hair was done and I had on nice clothes, but I was homeless. My hair was only done because I had already done my hair. I mean, I could go to my, like I would go to my friend's house, or do my hair, or, I had my clothes with me. So why wouldn't they be nice? You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like people are like, oh, well, she has some nice flip flops, so she isn't homeless. What does that mean? Yeah. You can most definitely still be homeless.
And you can rebuild your life. As you've done.
You can. And I just want to note also, my children, they literally all had all A's in school. They never missed a day. we were homeless the last 3 months. Like the first 3 months we were in the shelter, but the last 3 months we were in our car, and I would have to go to like gas stations and different places, and if my friend was available, try to drive all the way to my friend's house, which was like an hour away because we live in Texas, and like get them ready for school. And I remember one day we were doing homework. I had the light on in the car. I really have to find creative ways, but it really taught me a lot about my children and that we are in this together, because they never, not one time, ever complained.
Aww.
And they never judged me as a mom. They just was like, okay, cool. And I knew it would work out because we are really, really at a good place right now.
I think that your story is going to really open people's minds and help them see that when we all have our hard days, that if we dig deep enough, we can tap into even richer, stronger side of ourselves, and we can rebuild our lives.
Yeah, you're stronger than you think.
Well, and you're really learning from all these experiences. You're not just wasting the experiences. You're now, and that's what I love watching you go into this new mentorship role. You've started with Mary's Jane Mentoring Program, which is where we partner you with mentees, and you get to share your wisdom and your knowledge with them. And so you have so much in you to share with the world. And I love that you learn from all of these life experiences. And really, they say that pain is what cracks us open and it reveals all of our most beautiful parts. And that's how we really evolve into a better version of ourselves if, we do the work to make that happen. And that's what I've seen you do, is you actually didn't waste it. You're really doing the work and you're giving back to other women. And that's how you really have a huge impact on the world.
Yeah, I definitely feel like in life sometimes we have to pick up the pieces, and sometimes when your life is completely falling apart and it's time to rebuild again, of course that feels like, oh, I have to do this and that. But to be honest, that's the greatest place to be at, because you get a chance to set your foundation. You get a chance to shape your world and what you want it to be like. We absolutely, completely have control over our lives because we have control over our behaviors and how we think about things. Your attitude determines your outcome. It really does.
It does. And we all bring our energy into the room, and it's a real thing.
No, and that's the thing. It's so real. People are thinking this is so cliche, but if they actually start applying it to their life, they will really see that their lives will change.
Yeah, and it's all connected, just like Wi-Fi is there, but we can't see it. Like how we feel inside gets communicated to people in a room, and then we build on that. So as you change the way you look at life, then you get to make better choices, and then you literally co-create a better life. And that's exactly what you've been doing. And so that's why you're my inspiration.
I really appreciate that. I think it's just so funny for someone to say, like, I just think it's hilarious that I'm anyone's inspiration. It's so funny because I'm just like, me? Why? Because I am so open. Like, I'm goofy, I'm open, I'm imperfect, and just all those crazy, hilarious things. And when someone tells me that, it will never feel normal, because people actually tell me that all the time, and I don't see it because I'm just trying to be myself. I'm trying to tell everybody, these are all the things I went through. I have been through so much. And here I am. This is where I am. I took all those things. I tried to turn it into something positive because I was one of those people, as crazy as it may sound, as I used to just mope around. And I still have those days. I'm still working on it. But I had to tell myself, like, do you want to sit in your sorrow? Or do you want to live your best life? And living your best life is just having a good attitude. It's not about what you have. It's about feeling good.
And it's moment to moment. So you can completely have a breakdown and have a horrible day, and then just stop and look at yourself and go, okay, I see what I'm doing. Let me change the way I'm looking. Breathe, sit, be still. And you can literally like reset the pattern.
Breathing techniques really, really work. Listen, I have kids. They're all over the place. But sometimes I just say, I'm going to let them be funky, be wild, play, whatever, jump up and down. I'm just going to let them do that for 5 minutes because I need to go somewhere and I need to breathe. And even if that's like my self affirmations that's following it, or my mantras, like this morning, I woke up and I was like, let me get some sticky notes. And I'm just going to sticky note a few places around the house. You are successful. You are loved. You are beautiful. You're smart. You're kind. You know, you have something to offer the world that no one else has. But we all do. And we have to tell ourselves that. And when we talk to ourselves, and really a lot of times people don't know, you have to be in relationship with yourself. And when you do that, you can show up better in the world because you know who you are. The world does not know who you are until you present yourself, until you let them know.
And your children, the best thing you can do for them is to model exactly what you're doing, which is to figure out who you are, what you want, set your intentions, and take the time to do the self-care so that you can parent them with a better mindset, because our life is really just an experience in our mind. We can make it a crazy, horrible trip or a beautiful adventure. And I think we're always going in and out of all of those things. But to have these techniques helps us have more beautiful moments. And in the now, like not thinking of when you get your great job and when you get all that. And it's like right now, you are tapping into all of these great things inside of you, and you're choosing to change your perspective, look at the world in a positive way. And then that's why your life keeps improving.
I just want to say to people, you're never going to be 100% happy with every single thing in your life. It's not realistic. That's why you have to find those little victories in a day, because you can have the right job, the right marriage, the right kids, or whatever you think you have all of. But it's always going to be something that we're going to need to work on. Like you might have went to work and one of your coworkers got on your nerves, or your boss, or somebody in traffic, or somebody at the store, or your kids, or your spouse. I don't think it's realistic to put all of that pressure on thinking everything 100% of the time is going to be perfect. So we need to just set that out and just be like, okay, it's not perfect, but it's okay. It is okay. Let me find my little victories of the day, whether that's I finished dinner early 30 minutes today, so I feel good because I can relax more. Or my children, they did something so hilarious, it was so funny. Or my spouse gave me a compliment and I gave my spouse a compliment, or just whatever.
Yes, because what you feed grows. So if we're constantly looking at all the areas of our life where we are losing or not making it or all the things wrong, then that's what grows. But yeah, celebrating the little victories in life, then pretty soon you're putting all this attention to being grateful. And then that again, you bring good energy, and then your life improves.
That's what I'm saying. It's really about what you put out. What you put out is what you're going to get back in. So if you're looking at your life and it's looking a little funky, it's probably you being a little funky. Just being honest.
It's true.
You know I was going to make some jokes.
Oh, I've missed talking with you. We had so many great conversations.
Yeah, we have. And I just really feeling like you are so a part of my second season in life. My first season was like I'm 25 now, but the first season was like the first 21 years. But from 22 to now, it's been such a transition. And it's like you really came at the end of that season, but you are really, really one of those people who I consider a part of my new season and my growth. And my conversation with you really reminds me of how much I'm growing, but how I have people like you to really look to, because you are just such a role model, and just
we help each other grow. That's why this mentorship mentee thing is such a great thing. And having people, I think, at different ages in your life, different generations, we learn from different experiences. Like we need your young blood and energy, and then you learn from our experiences that we've already had. And so that's why I love seeing you in this role as a mentor, because you have so much to share, and it helps elevate all of us.
I'm so thankful. I'm so grateful. Like, this has been the most humbling experience. And a lot of people say, oh, you're a mentor, you have it all together. But more so, it helps me to feel better, to even learn from people that I'm helping. Because I learn from them and they learn from me. And and then we have this connection and now this new friendship and relationship. And I also want to say we have to stop looking on the outside and really looking at people as spirits and as just they're human. And it's not a boy, girl, black, white, Asian, whatever. It is not that. Each person is an individual spirit. And whether we know it or not, our spirits are more like each other. It's the ego and all those other things that we're like, oh, this person is not like this person. We're talking about spirits here, though. They are much more like each other, and they can connect. And if you allow your spirits to connect, you really do have a lot in common, and you can connect in some way, shape, or form, whether that's connecting now, or whether that's, you have parents that are alike, or you really can connect in some type of way. I have never met a person who I couldn't connect to, and it did not matter exactly what walk of life they came from. We were always able to connect in some way. And you just take that connection and build on it.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean you have to surround yourself with people that feel toxic or take away from you, but you can still learn from every person. And sometimes the difficult relationships teach us the most.
I was just going to say that because I have been there for sure.
Well, thank you, Kiami. I'm really grateful that you are a mentor, because I'm excited to see how many lives that you're going to touch, and they will touch your lives as well.
Me too. I am very, very thankful for the opportunity, and you took this time out, and I'm just thankful that you believed in me. You are the very first person through this adoption who ever believed in me, very first person I talked to, and I will be forever grateful. You have really changed my life.
Well, you changed mine too, and I'm just grateful that our paths crossed.
Me too. I really am. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Okay, take care.
Thank you. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed hearing Kiami's story. I'm going to leave you with a little excerpt from one of the Mary's mentoring projects that Kiami was involved with. Kiami is actually mentoring my daughter, who was adopted, and both of them came with questions about adoption so that they could learn from the other's perspective. Nothing was off limits. They could ask anything they wanted. It was really a beautiful collaboration, and they afterwards both said that they really learned from each other and felt like it was a really worthwhile experience. We will be posting the entire recording, but I wanted to give you an idea of just how beneficial mentoring can be. Thanks for listening.
There's a lot of kids at our school that aren't adopted, and I just try to tell them that adoption is a good thing, because a lot of the kids at our school don't think it's a good thing. And they're rude to the other kids who aren't adopted. Who are adopted, and the kids who are adopted feel ashamed of themselves. So I try to lift them up and talk to them about how they can make their life better about being adopted.
That's big, because for me, that's what I'm doing with my family. I'm breaking that generational curse, because in the Black community, it's something that's shame. It's shame. And also, my children and I are all mixed with Indian, and that's a huge shame. And so, I just feel like what used to happen and what they used to do is not what necessarily it's always good to continue to do. You know how a lot of things you do, oh, well, my grandmother and her grandmother, no, I feel like I wanted to shine light on it, and I wanted to be that one in my community to let people know that it's not something that should be shameful. A lot of times people feel like, oh, you didn't love your baby. It's completely the opposite. If anything, you feel like you love your child even more. Even more than anyone else, because you are literally giving that ultimate sacrifice, and you're breaking your heart to really provide a life, a better life for your kid.